everyone and welcome back to Crosshairs. It's a sad week this week with the news that THQ has actually closed down both of its Australian development studios. Now, Cos, this is a huge blow for the industry.
It is, yeah, and when you combine that with what's going on with Team Bondi right now, it's not looking real good. But Laura, can you take it to the news desk and tell us what's going on?
Sure can. THQ announced on Wednesday that it will be shutting down both of its Australian studios, Blob developer Blue Tongue and THQ Studios Australia, effective immediately. The layoffs are expected to affect around 200 employees. At this stage, the publisher has refused to comment further, but make sure you keep it tuned to GameSpot AU as news comes in. Things also aren't looking that great for Australian LA Noire developer Team Bondi. The studio ran into trouble earlier this year over abusive working conditions, prompting an investigation by the International Game Developers Association. Now, according to a developer report, a source close to the studio has told the trade publication that Team Bondi's intellectual property and assets have been sold to Sydney-based multimedia production firm Kennedy Miller Mitchell. The firm is co-founded by Mad Max director George Miller and is currently working on the film Happy Feet 2 and Mad Max Fury Road. The company also has a game-making arm called KMM Games. Develop source states that all Team Bondi employees have been given the choice of moving to work at Kennedy Miller Mitchell or accepting a severance package. It's unclear at this stage what KMM plans to do with Team Bondi. However, the LA Noire IP still belongs to Rockstar Games. Even though Grand Theft Auto 5 isn't even official yet, analysts are already predicting the game will sell millions. Wedbush Securities analyst Michael Pachter issued an investor note this week stating his belief that Grand Theft Auto 5 will sell at least 18 million units and as many as 24 million units if it maintains historical attach rates. Though the game has not been formally announced yet, the evidence of its existence is mounting. A Rockstar source told GameSpot in June that development on Grand Theft Auto 5 was well underway, with a 2012 release date seeming more and more likely. Pachter also estimates that Grand Theft Auto 5 has already cost Take-Two $80 million to develop so far. And finally, news this week, with Gears of War 3 just a mere month away, Epic is already preparing for the next project. According to a job listing on the studio's website, the next project for Gears of War 3 team isn't a fourth installment in the series, but rather an all-new intellectual property. The company is currently hiring gameplay programmers to work on the unannounced IP, but unfortunately no other details were given at this stage. In news headlines this week, Twisted Metal has been delayed to early 2012, Battlefield 3 will feature 10 times as many in-game unlocks as Bad Company 2, and finally Call of Duty Black Ops has topped the Aussie sales chart for the first half of 2011.
This week the following games have been rated by the Classification Board of Australia. Warner Brother Interactive Entertainment's The Lord of the Rings War in the North was rated MA 15+ for strong violence. The game is influenced more by Peter Jackson's rendition of the story and is said to be the goriest game based off of the franchise to date, hence the MA rating. The story is set as a backdrop to the main Lord of the Rings plot and follows a hero during battles in the northern region of Middle-earth. Keep an eye out for The Lord of the Rings War in the North when it releases on November 2. Next up is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Defiance for the Nintendo DS, which was picked up for violence and rated M. This is the 5th outing for the franchise on Nintendo's popular handheld console, and very little is known about the title. Veteran Nintendo DS developer N-Space is working on the title, but it hasn't been given an official date yet. One game that is well documented and on the hype train at the moment is Batman Arkham City. The Dark Knight's latest outing was rated M for violence. This time around, everyone's favourite rich boy turned superhero must infiltrate Arkham City and save Catwoman from execution. The predatory gameplay that made the first game so successful remains the same, and Batman has been given a few new toys to help him on his mission. Batman Arkham City will be lurking in the shadows when it's released on the 19th of October.
So 2009 spawned two very similar open-world superhero games. We had Infamous, which was for the PlayStation 3, and we had Prototype, which was from Activision. Now, Laura, I can't really tell the difference between the two of them.
You don't need to, Cos. That's why we brought on Chris Ansell, the head of marketing from Radical Entertainment, to tell us why Prototype 2 kicks ass over Prototype.
Alex Mercer, you killed my wife and my daughter. You turned me into this monster.
With our first game, Alex Mercer was extremely powerful. He was an amnesiac. He was an anti-hero who was very much in the grey spaces. And for us, I think a lot of feedback was it was very tough to empathize with this character. And so we thought, what could be more cool than actually the player in the first game building up Alex Mercer to be incredibly powerful. And in a new game, we introduced Sergeant James Heller, who has lost his family to the virus. He's lost his city. and Alex Mercer, he holds personally responsible. Let's see if the player can actually take down the devil. Alex Mercer versus James Heller. And so far the reaction to that premise has been fantastic, and as we're showing James Heller's powers and moves, it's really telling us we're on the right track. The way that we actually ensure that the character is never too powerful is simply through polish and balancing. In this game, we've actually had a really fantastic start to our development cycle, so we have a much longer period for polish, so we can make sure that as players move through each zone, as they tackle each unique kind of enemy, we have already worked out, via looking at all the various powers you can have, that the challenge level is correct. We want to make sure that we flatten out and we smooth out the difficulty spikes that we know we had in the first game. So we want players to enjoy this game. We spent a long time making it, so that's kind of a key focus for us, is making it as many people enjoy, making them enjoy the story, and making them really see the content that we've put into this world by really making a much better polished product. Every single zone of New York Zero, which is our new open world environment, has to have its own flavor, its own ambience, the way the civilians interact with each other and with yourself, and even with the military and the Black Watch is always very different. And so we've got a lot of effort and focus from the art team, from the cinematics team, the audio team, to make it a really unique experience when you move from one zone to the other. And as the story progresses, as you play James Heller and your hunt for Alex Mercer, and you'll go through each of these different zones, our goal is that players really have a very unique flavor and in level of enjoyment per zone. And that's so far coming along really great. We really want to make sure that James Heller pays off as a character you can feel invested in, and that you've really felt like you've contributed to him being a complete badass. And so the mutation system gives you X number of slots, and you can put in new sort of micro powers and micro abilities into those slots and mix and match and see which combination feels right for you.
Now, last year, Capcom unveiled Asura's Wrath, a brand new IP. Now, Cos, what can you tell us about the game?
Not a whole lot, because I don't really know much about it, but thankfully we have two of the developers. One of them is from Capcom and the other one is from CyberConnect, to talk to us a little bit about what Asura's Wrath is all about.
It is pointless to resist. You lost 12,000 years ago. Because of this, your existence threatens everything we have worked for. You are an evil that will throw our world into chaos.
Words are lies!
The reason why we decided to go with the Asian mythology and sci-fi theme was we wanted to come up with a genre that no one has ever seen before, a game that no one has ever played before. There's been a lot of other types of games. There's so many different types of war games, different types of fantasy games and stuff like that. But with Asura, we wanted to make a game that has never been out there, and to get something that was fresh, new, unique, and people. Something that would get people talking. Usually when an action game is developed, they start with the gameplay first. They figure out what kind of action elements they want in the game, and then they put the story on top of that. What was different when developing Asura's Wrath is we started with the story first, made a solid storyline, divided up into episodes, and then in each episode we decided what part of this episode would this action fit into. And that's why there's such a variety of different gameplay, and that's how we were able to balance out different styles of gameplay in the game. There will be ups and downs in the game. It's not just going to be like relentless the whole time. We've been getting a lot of misconceptions about the bosses just getting bigger and bigger. That's not the case. There will be big bosses. There will be regular sized bosses. There will be bosses that are even smaller than Asura. But what we do want people to know is that yes, the story is the main focus of the game, and a lot of the action will be going up and down, and there will be times where players will think, wow, how far will they go with this? There weren't any actual games that inspired us to make this game. Actually, what was our inspiration was American TV shows, TV series including, for example, Lost and 24, where it's a serial, like episodic series that gets you wanting to see the next episode right away. So the way that Asura's Wrath is divided up is into episodes, and after you finish an episode, you really want to play the next one. It's got kind of a cliffhanger effect to the end of each episode. And we also want to point out that this is the first time that Capcom and CyberConnect are collaborating together. So being a new IP, we think that it won't fail.
Now that was a brief look at Asura's Wrath. Now, cause one of the biggest games of this year's E3 was of course Far Cry 3.
It was, and we managed to catch up with one of my favourite video game personalities, Jason Vanderberg, to talk just a little bit about the story and the engine in the game.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
For Far Cry 3, we're using the same engine that we used for Far Cry 2. It's the Dunia engine, right? And it's been evolved. It's been being worked on since the game shipped, since Far Cry 2 shipped. And so we've got there's a lot of stuff that's gone into it. You see the visual improvements. It's beautiful. We have new water technology that's incredible. We've been working on our AI systems extensively all the way through that. Our animation system has received a huge upgrade. You've seen the character Voss. We can do fantastic facial capture stuff, and we put a lot of effort in making sure that we can do great performance capture and get that performance in the game at a level that is, we think, world class. So one of the big focuses in Far Cry 3 is pushing the narrative to a new level. We are, like I said before, we've got this fantastic technology, and we've focused on getting great character performances. This island is filled. It's a long way from civilization, and it's filled with people who are a little off. And so that character that you're seeing is the first of a cast of characters that you're going to encounter, and we absolutely want to make sure that we're walking away with vivid, memorable characters in every moment, right? And the story will be the story of Jason Brody, the main character. We want you to walk away having a great narrative experience from Far Cry 3. So in shifting from the savannah and heading to a more tropical setting, you get a lot more verticality, right? You get a lot more up and down, a lot more rocks, a lot more cover. It's a dense environment, right? But that core Far Cry experience is still there. Far Cry for me has always been about the player making their own decisions about how they want to attack a particular scenario, how they want to approach a gameplay situation. It's up to each individual player's style in Far Cry. And I think it's one of the great promises of Far Cry is that type of play is there. So you're going to see us continue to evolve that, right? We're using water as a gameplay feature in this one. You can use you can swim underwater to break line of sight, come out on the other side, and sort of reset the combat. Fire is dramatic and impressive, and it works really well, especially in the savannah, where it's dry and it's really arid, right? But if you we have that same technology, but if you light a tree on fire on a tropical island, it's going to burn, and that's about it, because everything's wet, right? Won't spread quite so far. So yeah, we're focusing on water. We're going to extract as much gameplay as we can out of it. I think we don't want to force it, right? We don't want to look for gimmicks. We want to look for stuff that really fits with that core experience and that really actually improves the player's play.
Now that was Jason Vanderberg speaking all about Far Cry 3. And Cos, did you notice Jason's pimp cane in the background?
I did. He always has that, and I think it's one of the things that gives him a lot of personality.
An edge over the other developers.
Yeah.
Now we're going to kick straight into our competition sections, and what can we expect this week?
Alrighty, so this month on the Ozspot we're giving away copies of Call of Juarez and a DVD prize pack to go along with that.
Awesome. I think that just about wraps it up. Now, what can we expect on the site this week?
So we have a whole bunch of stuff going on right now. I don't know if you noticed, but we're doing weekly roundups of iPhone and Android applications, which is pretty cool. And we also have a review of a game where you get to go around and clean the streets, not of crime, but of garbage.
Awesome. Okay, well that about wraps it up. Thanks for joining us, and as always, make sure you check back next week for another episode of Crosshairs.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, you're the interviewer, not me. Oh, you're I see.
You can interview me later if you want.
Oh, absolutely. So what do you think about Far Cry 3?
I
I don't know, I haven't seen much, but it looks alright. It's alright. Maybe if I get some hands-on time, I can tell you a bit.
Hands on, hands on. That's coming, that's coming. Not this show, though. Oh, no.
Hi.